What if I told you that the couple everyone swore was moving too slow might actually be the ones planning for forever? Because if you watched Love Island USA Season 7, you already know this isn't just another dating show story. We're talking about Nic, Olandria, and the phenomenon known as Nic Olandria. From drama with Ace, history with Taylor and Cierra, and even messy moments that involved Huda and the whole Love Island Huda narrative, this love story has lived rent-free in every Love Island fan's brain since the villa closed its doors. But recently, Nic said something in an interview that made the entire Nic Olandria nation sit up straight. It wasn't a normal, "we're just seeing where things go" answer. It was bigger. It sounded like, "I see us sitting in rocking chairs at 80, watching our younger selves fall in love on camera." And when you combine that with Olandria's very clear stance on dating only with the intention of marriage, no moving in before a ring, and building a real foundation, suddenly, this doesn't feel like casual at all. Did Nic and Olandria basically just admit they're in this for the long run? Or are fans reading way too deep into every word? Before we dive into the receipts, do me a tiny favor. Tap that subscribe button like it's a text from your villa crush at 3 a.m. It's free, it helps the channel more than you know, and it tells the algorithm you'd rather watch Nic Olandria updates than random videos you never asked for. All right, let's talk about whether this slow-burn couple is actually walking straight toward a wedding. To understand why fans are screaming Endgame right now, you have to rewind to Love Island USA Season 7 and remember how chaotic things were before Nic Olandria even existed. At first, Nic's story wasn't Nic Olandria. It was Nic and Taylor, then Nic and Cierra, plus the chaos of Ace, the boys' friendship, and all the shocking twists that made Season 7 feel like 3 seasons in one. Nic was bouncing between genuine connection and total confusion, especially after Cierra left. He even admitted later that when Cierra was suddenly gone, he felt lost and considered leaving the villa himself. On the other side, you had Alandria walking into the villa with standards set to maximum. She wasn't there to flirt with 10 people just for screen time. She said multiple times that she dates with intention, and that energy showed immediately. That's part of why some guys were low-key intimidated. She wanted effort, clarity, and someone who was actually ready to grow up a bit. When Cierra exited and Nic stayed, that's when the real shift happened. Nic and Olandria were suddenly two people in the same house, both feeling a little off balance and trying to figure out what was next. According to Nic's later interviews, they bonded over that feeling of being a bit lost and trying to reset. They slowly moved from villa friends into something with real potential. And that's important. Their relationship didn't start as a whirlwind. It started as two people talking, hanging out, and being confused together. No labels, no pressure, just friendship first. But that was just the beginning. The real forever hence came after the villa. Let's jump to the quote that shook the fandom. Nic talking about being old, in rocking chairs, watching their story back. In a recent interview, Nic said he felt like he came out of Love Island USA super successful because he left with a girlfriend. He talked about how their whole journey is on camera, from the moment they met to every awkward, funny, or emotional moment in between. And then he dropped the line that had everyone replaying the clip. He said that when they're 80, sitting on rocking chairs, they'll be able to look back and watch their younger selves forever. That is not casual language. Most reality TV couples give the exact same answer. We're taking it day by day. We're seeing what happens. We're focusing on ourselves right now. Nic didn't say any of that. Instead, he painted a literal picture of old age, long-term partnership, and shared memories. Think about it. You don't picture rocking chair retirement with someone if you secretly think you're going to break up in 2 months. You say that when you see this person as part of your life 10, 20, 50 years from now. And here's where it gets interesting, because Nic talking like that wouldn't mean much if Olandria didn't have the same mindset. But she does. Loudly. Before we get into her side, quick thing. If you've made it this far, you're clearly locked in.
Hit subscribe so you don't have to search Nic Olandria update every week. YouTube will just hand them to you. It's like getting a text from the villa, but legally and ad-supported. All right, let's talk about Alandria standards because they are no joke.
On Jason Tartick's Trading Secrets podcast and in other interviews, Alandria has been very clear about one thing. She doesn't date just to pass time. She dates for serious commitment and, eventually, marriage. She's talked about knowing she wants kids, knowing she wants to be married before she has those kids, loving the idea of a committed, long-term partnership. She's also mentioned how much she admires long-lasting relationships, like Nick's parents' marriage, and how that kind of example shaped what she wants for herself. That's not, "we'll see" energy. That's, "I have a blueprint, and I intend to use it."
And according to the conversation from that podcast and other clips, she's not shy about discussing this directly with Nick. She literally says she dated with the intention of marriage and talks to Nick about whether they're on the same page. She's not leaving it as a mystery or a vibe. She wants clarity. That puts Nick's rocking chair comment in a whole new light. He's not making a random cute statement about growing old. He's speaking the language she's already made clear she wants: intentional, long-term, and serious. But she doesn't just talk about marriage in the abstract. She backs it up with boundaries.
One of the biggest moments that confirmed just how serious Alandria is about long-term commitment actually came from a more relaxed place, a live stream. On TikTok Live, she described herself as very traditional when it comes to relationships. One of the biggest examples she gave, she said she will not move in with Nick without a ring. Even though she joked that once she moves to his city, they'll probably be at each other's places all the time, she still drew that line. For her, living together is a step that belongs to a more formal level of commitment.
That boundary tells you a lot. She's not rushing into the "let's just live together and see what happens" phase. She's thinking about how their relationship is structured long-term, not just what feels convenient right now. She wants commitment and security, not just vibes and sleepovers.
And here's the key detail. Nick knows this. He's heard her talk publicly about dating with intention, about marriage being non-negotiable, and about that no moving in line. And he's still there, still talking about rocking chairs and rewatching their story at 80. You don't stay in a relationship with someone who has those standards unless, at some level, you're at least open to the same outcome. So if she wants long-term commitment and he's publicly talking about rocking chair retirement together, you can see why fans are connecting the dots.
Of course, this is Love Island, not a fairy tale. The minute a couple gets too popular, the internet starts asking, is it real or is it for clout? Enter Ace. In a recent interview, Ace talked about Nick and Alandria's relationship and implied that he didn't fully buy it as a genuine romantic connection. He referenced private conversations, saying Nick had talked about the spark not fully being there. And he brought up the history involving Cierra, suggesting that things weren't as simple as the final edit made them look. That triggered a whole wave of discourse. Some people said, "See? I knew Nic Olandria was fake." Others said, "Ace is bitter, let it go." And right in the middle were Nick and Alandria just trying to live their lives.
Their responses were subtle, but telling. Alandria reportedly posted a tweet basically saying, "Anyways, my event went amazing," focusing on her success instead of feeding the drama, then moved on. Nick answered a fan's question on Snapchat about how his day was by rating it a 10 out of 10 earlier and then a 4 out of 10 later. Fans connected that dip to Ace's comments and assumed he wasn't thrilled with the situation.
What's important here isn't whether Ace is right or wrong. It's that even with someone they were once close to publicly doubting their relationship, Nick and Olandria didn't dump each other, disappear, or start throwing shots back online. They stayed together, kept showing up to support each other, and let their actions do the talking. And to a lot of fans, That looked way more like a real couple navigating post-show drama than a fake storyline crumbling under pressure. Quick breather. If you're still here listening to me dissect Ace, Cierra, Nic, Olandria, Love Island USA, Love Island Hutta arcs, and all this chaos, go ahead and subscribe. Clearly, you're part of the Nic Olandria nation at this point, and it's way easier to have YouTube feed you these deep dives than to stock every hashtag manually. Let's keep going, because the way Nic and Olandria actually operate together says even more than their quotes.
One of the strongest green flags in all of this is how they talk about supporting each other outside the villa. In post-show coverage, like the Variety interview and podcast recaps, Olandria has opened up about how Nic makes sure she has equal opportunities and doesn't try to compete with her. She's talked about him cheering her on, stepping aside so she can shine, and even playing behind-the-scenes support instead of trying to be the center of attention every time they're out together. Fans have pointed out how often he flies out to support her at events and shows, stays in the background while she works, modeling or hosting, just happy to see her win. Lets her take the spotlight on carpets, shoots, and campaigns. On her side, she's praised him for being patient and letting them build a friendship first. She said that when you build a relationship only on physical chemistry, it can crumble as soon as you hit a serious conflict. But when you build on friendship, trust, and time, you have something to fall back on when things get hard. She's credited Nic for being willing to slow down, not rush intimacy, and respect the pace she was comfortable with. That's not just romantic, that's practical.
Pair that with his willingness to support her career instead of competing with it, and you get a picture that doesn't look like a short-term post-show PR relationship. It looks like two people trying to figure out how to be a team in real life. And that's exactly the kind of energy that gets fans saying, okay, wait, they might actually be in this for the long term.
Let's put all the puzzle pieces on the table. Nic calls leaving with a girlfriend the super successful part of his Love Island experience. Talks about watching their younger selves together when they're 80, sitting in rocking chairs. Alandria says she dates with intention, not just for fun. Wants kids, but only within marriage. Admires long-term marriages like Nic's parents and wants something similar. Calls herself traditional, saying she will not move in with him without a ring. Their behavior? Built on friendship, not just sparks. Support each other's careers and wins, instead of treating them like competition. Stay together and stay focused, even when Ace publicly questions their relationship and the internet starts debating whether they're real. None of this is a wedding announcement. No one is saying they've secretly eloped. But when fans look at all of this together, it's not hard to see why they get excited. It's not just what they're saying, it's how consistent it all is. Her standards match his language. His future tense comments match the boundaries she set. Their real-world choices back up both. For a couple that some people still insist is just for the cameras, there are a lot of signs pointing towards something way more serious. Now, here's where we have to be honest. As of right now, there is no engagement announcement, no confirmed wedding date, no official statement saying, yes, Nic Olandria is 100% getting married in X year.
What we do have is public interviews where Nic talks long-term and pictures them old together. Public interviews where Olandria outlines a clear path, marriage, family, and a structure that matches Nic's vision. Lives, tweets, and appearances where they move like a team, support each other, and stay together through drama. So are fans completely wild for thinking marriage might be in the cards? Not really. The hints are there. The values line up. The way they talk about each other doesn't sound temporary.
But it's also important to remember, they're real humans figuring out their lives in real time. It's easy as a fan to turn everything into foreshadowing. Every quote becomes a sign. Every outfit becomes a clue. Every trip is definitely where he proposed. Sometimes it's just two people living, working, and trying to build something strong without rushing it. The healthiest place to land is probably this. Yes, there are serious long-term signals. Yes, it looks like they're aligned on major life goals. But they get to choose the timeline. Not us, not Ace, not the comments, not the edit. So, did Nic and Olandria just tell us they're in this for the long run? On one side, you have Nic talking about watching their story back when they're 80, sitting on rocking chairs and laughing at their younger selves. On the other, you have Olandria saying she dates to marry. She wants kids only within marriage. She's not moving in without a ring, and she loves the idea of a strong, committed partnership that actually lasts. Throw in their friendship-first foundation, the way they back each other in the face of drama from people like Ace, and how they move as a united front after Love Island USA. And yeah, it's hard not to look at Nic Olandria and think, this could really be the real thing.
But now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Nic's rocking chair comment and Alandria's traditional boundaries are real hints that they're planning for marriage one day? Or do you think fans are overanalyzing and turning every quote into a wedding teaser? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you stand. Team Nic Olandria is Endgame? Or team let's wait and see? And before you go, tap that subscribe button like you're sending a last-minute vote on finale night. It keeps you in the loop on every Nic and Alandria update, every Love Island deep dive, and every twist this wild dating show universe throws at us next. Thanks for watching, stay kind in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video.